In the twilight years of World War II, the world was introduced to a technological marvel that would change the future of warfare: the jet fighter. For the Allies, particularly the Americans, the first encounter with a German jet fighter was a moment of both awe and shock. This is the story of how the Luftwaffe's revolutionary jet, the Messerschmitt Me 262, sent ripples through the skies and struck fear into Allied pilots. We'll dive into the significance of this historic moment and how the introduction of the jet fighter reshaped the future of air combat. To understand the significance of jet fighters, we need to look at how air combat evolved during the war. In the early years, propeller-driven planes dominated the skies. Aircraft such as the American P-51 Mustang and British Spitfire were symbols of power and agility, outmatching their German counterparts. The idea of a jet-powered aircraft was still largely theoretical at the start of the war. However, as the war dragged on and Germany found itself on the defensive, their engineers began looking for ways to change the tide of battle. The Messerschmitt Me 262 was born out of this desperation. Designed by Willy Messerschmitt and his team, the Me 262 was the world's first operational jet-powered fighter aircraft. Unlike propeller-driven planes, which were limited by the laws of aerodynamics, the Me 262 utilized jet engines to achieve unprecedented speed and performance. By 1944, as the Allies were closing in on Germany, the Me 262 was ready to take flight. The Luftwaffe hoped that this new aircraft would serve as a miracle weapon that could turn the tide of the war in their favor. The Me 262's sleek design and powerful engines gave it a significant advantage in combat. It could reach speeds of up to 540 miles per hour, far surpassing any Allied aircraft at the time. This made it not only faster, but also deadlier, as it was equipped with 430mm cannons capable of tearing through bombers and fighters alike. The first recorded encounter between American forces and the Me 262 occurred in September 1944, during a bombing raid over Germany. As American B-17 Flying Fortresses and P-51 Mustang escorts approached their targets, they noticed a strange aircraft diving towards them at incredible speeds. At first, the American pilots were unsure of what they were seeing. Some even thought it was an experimental rocket or a UFO. But as the sleek jet passed by in a blur, they quickly realized they were witnessing the future of air warfare. The Me 262 moved so quickly that American pilots struggled to keep up. The jet's superior speed allowed it to easily outrun Allied fighters, and its armament made it a formidable threat to bombers. However, despite its technological advantages, the Me 262 had one major flaw. Its jet engines were still in their early stages of development and often malfunctioned. Additionally, the German pilots flying the Me 262 were not fully trained in jet tactics, giving the Allies a slight edge. The Me 262 sent shockwaves through the ranks of Allied air forces. American intelligence quickly realized that they were dealing with a revolutionary new aircraft, one that had the potential to change the balance of power in the skies. The introduction of jet fighters prompted the Allies to rethink their air strategies. The US and Britain began pushing their own jet programs into overdrive, but by the time they were ready to deploy jet fighters like the Gloucester Meteor and Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star, the war was nearing its end. Despite the awe it inspired, the Me 262 ultimately arrived too late in the war to make a significant impact. Germany's industrial infrastructure had been severely crippled by Allied bombing campaigns, limiting the number of jets that could be produced. Furthermore, fuel shortages and a lack of trained pilots further hindered the jet's effectiveness. While the Me 262 didn't change the outcome of World War II, its introduction marked the dawn of the jet age. The lessons learned from this revolutionary aircraft laid the groundwork for future developments in aviation. The jet's speed, firepower, and innovation would shape the design of post-war military aircraft, leading to the modern fighter jets that dominate the skies today. For the American pilots who encountered the Me 262, it was a sobering reminder that technological superiority can sometimes be the deciding factor in war. Although they were able to defeat Germany in the air, the Me 262 showed them that the future of warfare would belong to those who could harness the power of cutting-edge technology. After the war, both the Allies and the Soviets scrambled to capture German jet technology and expertise. The Messerschmitt engineers were brought to the United States and the Soviet Union under Operation Paperclip, where they contributed to the development of the first generation of jet fighters for these superpowers. The legacy of the Me-262 continued to influence military aviation for decades, as the jet age took off in earnest with aircraft like the F-86 Sabre and MiG-15. For the Americans, the Me-262 served as a stark reminder that war is not only fought on the battlefield, but also in the laboratories and factories. The race to develop the most advanced weapons and technologies would continue throughout the Cold War, with jet fighters playing a pivotal role in the military strategies of the 20th century. The first encounter with the Messerschmitt Me-262 was a moment that forever changed the course of air warfare. Though it arrived too late to save the Third Reich, the jet fighter represented a quantum leap in aviation technology. For the American pilots who faced it, the Me-262 was a terrifying glimpse into the future, one that would shape the way wars were fought in the skies for generations to come. The jet age had arrived, and there was no turning back.